"Who is she?" the room whispered, until the SEAL commander recognized her tattoo and froze. Nobody in that room could figure her out. That was the first thing people noticed about her. Not her dress, not her face, not the way she walked in. It was the fact that she did not belong there, and yet she moved through the crowd like she owned every inch of the floor. A big military gala in Washington, D.C., hundreds of decorated officers, government officials, diplomats, and this one woman had no name tag that made sense, no group she was standing with, and no one who came up to greet her. She just stood near the tall window with a glass of water, watching the room. People started whispering. You could see it happening at different tables, one after another. Someone would glance over, lean toward the person next to them, and say it quietly, "Who is she?" Nobody had an answer. Now, in a room like that, most people get figured out within 5 minutes. Someone knows someone. A name gets matched to a face. A title gets mentioned. But this woman? An hour into the evening and she was still a question mark. Her badge said she was from a European humanitarian organization. That was it. No one had spoken to her. No one had been introduced. She had simply appeared, and the room had no idea what to do with her. Across the room, a senior Navy SEAL commander was doing what men like him always do in social settings. He was watching everything while pretending to watch nothing. 22 years in special operations teaches you that. You stand with a drink in your hand, you smile at the right moments, you make small conversation with generals and politicians. But behind all of that, your eyes never stop moving. Old habit. Hard to switch off, even at a fancy dinner. He had noticed the woman the moment she walked in. Not because of anything dramatic. Just because she moved the way trained people move. Controlled, deliberate, always knowing where every exit was. He had clocked her and moved on. A lot of intelligence people pass through these galas. He did not think much of it. And then she shifted her weight, and her sleeve slipped 2 inches up her left arm. He saw the tattoo. What happened next took maybe 3 seconds. But those 3 seconds changed everything. The glass he was holding slipped right out of his hand. He did not feel it go. He did not hear it hit the floor. He did not notice the general next to him stop mid-sentence. All of that disappeared, because what he saw on that woman's arm was not possible. That small tattoo, a trident crossed with a compass, and 8 numbers beneath it, belonged to someone who had been dead for 6 years. Or at least, that was what the report said. People around him saw the glass fall, and rushed forward to help. He waved them off with a steady hand, that somehow still knew how to perform calm, even while his entire chest had just collapsed inward. He bent down to pick up the broken pieces, using those few seconds on the floor to breathe, to reset, to remind himself where he was and what was at stake. When he stood back up, he did not look at her. That was important. If she was who he now suspected she was, then looking directly at her in a room full of people was the worst possible move. He excused himself from the conversation, set down his replacement drink, and walked toward the east corridor, like a man who simply needed some air. Inside, he was anything but calm. 6 years ago, there was a classified mission in northern Syria. His team had been sent to extract a deep-cover intelligence asset, a woman who had spent over a year embedded inside a dangerous weapons trafficking network, passing information to Allied forces at enormous personal risk. In the mission files, she had no real name. She was called Oracle. The extraction went wrong. It went very wrong. His team came under attack 2 miles from the helicopter. In the middle of that chaos, a young soldier under his command was killed. And Oracle, according to the official after-action report, had been compromised and neutralized, meaning she had either been captured or killed by hostile forces before the team could get her out. He had carried that report for 6 years. He had carried that loss for 6 years. The young soldier, barely 22 years old, from a small town in Tennessee, a kid who had wanted to coach football after finishing his service. And Oracle, whoever she really was, gone before he ever got to see her face. Except now she was standing 40 feet away, drinking sparkling water at a Washington D.C. gala. He pulled out his phone in the corridor and quietly checked the coordinates tattooed on her arm. He knew them already. They had been drilled into his team during the mission briefing as extraction points. Those exact coordinates mapped to a field outside Raqqa, Syria, the same field where, according to the official record, Oracle had been lost. She had tattooed the location where she was supposed to have died. He stood in that corridor for about 2 minutes, putting it together. This was not an accident. She had not stumbled into this event. She was here on purpose, at this specific gala, on this specific night, where one of the senior officials from the original mission chain was receiving an award. She had planned this, and somehow, she had known that he would be here too. When he turned around, she was already standing in the corridor behind him. She had followed him, quietly, without anyone noticing. She stood a few feet away, completely relaxed, like they were two old friends catching up at a reunion. Her eyes were steady. Her hands were still. She was not afraid of him at all. "You haven't changed much," she said. Her voice was low, steady, carrying a faint accent he couldn't quite pin down. "Still the one who watches the room." He stared at her for a moment. "You're supposed to be dead," he said. "That was the arrangement," she replied. "Not mine." She did not say it with bitterness. She said it the way you state a fact, like the weather. That was the thing about her. There was nothing dramatic in how she carried herself. No anger, no tears, no big theatrical moment. Just quiet, exact truth. She told him what really happened on the night of the extraction. The attack on his team had not been an accident. It had not been enemy forces reacting to their presence. It had been arranged. Someone inside the command structure had leaked their route. And the reason was simple and ugly. Oracle had not just been gathering information about the weapons network. She had also found proof of something far more dangerous. Evidence that certain powerful people within the U.S. government had been benefiting financially from that same trafficking operation. People with rank, with connections, with the ability to sign orders and make things disappear. The young soldier had not died in crossfire. He had been deliberately put in harm's way by someone who needed the mission to fail and needed no witnesses to survive it. And Oracle herself had been meant to die in that field. The neutralized line in the report was supposed to be permanent. Except she had seen the ambush coming. Barely, but enough. And she had done the only thing that made sense. She had disappeared on her own terms, before anyone could confirm she was gone. For 6 years, she had lived under a different identity, in a different country, building her case, collecting documents, gathering communications records, putting together a package of evidence so complete, so detailed, so impossible to dismiss, that when it finally came out, no one could bury it again. Tonight was the night she had decided to bring it forward. She chose him because she had read his file carefully before she came. She knew his record, his values, his history. She knew that when faced with the truth, he would not look the other way. That was the thing about men like him. Not all of them were trustworthy, but the ones who were completely trustworthy. She had bet 6 years of her life on getting that read right. He listened to everything she said without interrupting. When she finished, he was quiet for a long moment. He was thinking about the young soldier from Tennessee. He was thinking about all the questions he had never asked, all the reports he had accepted without pushing back, all the times he had trusted the chain of command and told himself that was the right thing to do. Then he asked her one question: "What do you need from me?" She handed him a small device. On it was a file, financial records, communication logs, names and dates and transfer amounts, and one audio recording. The voice on that recording was instantly recognizable. It belonged to the senior official across the room, the same man who was currently holding his new award and smiling for photographs. In the recording, that man's voice gave specific instructions to manage the situation with Oracle permanently. Those were his exact words: manage it permanently. The man who had ordered her death was standing 40 feet away being applauded. Meanwhile, a government analyst who had been watching the commander very carefully all evening, she was trained to notice things others missed, and that 3-second freeze at the drinks table had not escaped her, had been quietly running checks on the European liaison named Elena Vosch. Those checks came back empty. The organization on the badge did not exist in any current registry. It had been dissolved 3 years earlier. She found them in the corridor within minutes. For a brief moment, everything could have gone the wrong way. An unknown woman with a false identity badge at a classified military gala is not something you simply overlook. The analyst was seconds from calling security, but the commander stepped forward, not to block her, not to make threats. He just asked her for 40 minutes before she made any call. He said it calmly, plainly, one professional to another. He told her there was something she needed to hear first. She looked at him. She looked at the woman. Something in the way he was standing, not defensive, not aggressive, just completely certain, made her pause. She had enough experience to know when someone was covering something up, and when someone was about to blow something open. This felt like the second thing. She agreed. 40 minutes. It took less than that. The analyst listened to the recording. She looked at the documents. She asked 3 sharp questions, got 3 sharp answers, and then she made a call on a secure channel. Not to security, to her own office. At 10:47 in the evening, a file package was transmitted. At 10:52, 2 men in dark suits entered the ballroom from the east entrance. The senior official was mid-speech when he saw them. He stopped talking. Just like that, in the middle of a sentence, the words ran out. The microphone caught nothing but silence, and then a very quiet sound, like something small breaking. The audience shifted in their seats, confused, looking from him to the men walking toward him and back again. He did not run. Men like him never run. They stand very still and try to find a posture that looks like dignity. He found none that night. He was walked out of his own ceremony quietly, without a scene. The applause that had started for his remarks died out slowly, then completely. The room did not know what to do with the silence he left behind. Out in the corridor, the 3 of them stood together for a moment. The commander, the analyst, and the woman who had been dead for 6 years. Then the woman said she needed to go. There would be a process now. Testimony, legal proceedings, protective arrangements. She had people in place who would handle what came next. She had planned this part too. He wanted to ask her so many things. Where she had been living, how she had stayed safe, whether she was okay, in all the ways that word means. He asked none of it. He understood, without her saying so, that she was not someone who answered questions like that, and that she had not come here to be taken care of. She had come here to finish something. He asked about the young soldier's family instead. They'll know the truth, she said. That's already in the package. That was all he needed to hear. She walked back through the ballroom, now half empty, chandeliers still glowing over abandoned glasses and overturned name cards. No one stopped her. No one knew enough yet to stop her. She moved the same way she had moved when she arrived, like she belonged, like she had always been there, like the room was already behind her. At the main doors, she paused for just a second. She did not look back. Then she walked out into the night and disappeared, the way she had always disappeared, completely, quietly, and entirely on her own terms. The commander stood at the top of the corridor stairs and watched the doors close behind her. Around him, people were already pulling out phones, piecing together rumors, trying to understand what they had just witnessed. The room that had whispered, "Who is she?" an hour ago, was now asking very different questions. He picked up a fresh glass from a passing tray, took one slow sip, and let out a breath he felt like he had been holding for 6 years. She had walked into that room knowing exactly what she was doing. She had stood near the window and let the room wonder about her, let the whispers build, let the night play out exactly as she had designed it. She had worn that tattoo in plain sight, not to be recognized by anyone, but to be recognized by the one person who would know what it meant, the one person she had calculated, after 6 years of careful thought, would do the right thing when given the chance. She had read him correctly. And somewhere out in the Washington D.C. night, a woman who had been declared dead walked away from the thing that had been trying to erase her for 6 years, and finally, quietly, let herself breathe. Some stories don't end with fireworks. They end with a door closing softly and the truth finally having somewhere to land.